Hi guys, Avery here. Today, this is the fourth video of basics on how a car works, which this is the last video for the basics. So smash that like button, make sure bell so you can subscribe, and let's do this. Okay, so first we're going to be doing the suspension, the springs and dampers part of the suspension, a transmission, clutch, manual gearbox, automatic gearbox, fuel injection system, and how a diesel works. So 7 things today. First, we're going to be starting with suspension, obviously. So I am going to read this, and then I'll read the parts, and then I'll show you guys. So a typical suspension system on a rear-wheel drive car, my mama calls it wheel drive, but anyway, it has a live rear axle on leaf springs and an independent front suspension on the MacPherson strut type with interior damper. Okay, so now I'm gonna read it. So pivoted arm to frame, MacPherson strut. I don't know. It's a strut. Actor point to reinforced wing. Let's see. Fixing to wheel hub. Ridged fixing to wheel hub. Half shafts and differential containing encasing. Leaf spring brush. So the leaf spring. Damper, live rear axle. Is there any more? No. Okay, so I'll just kind of there. Oops. So you can see there. You can pause if you want. So now, okay, so this is the wishbone suspension. So there's the wishbone, which is the arm. Damper mounting on lower wishbone frame. Tie rod. Castle nut. It's like a something castle nut. I don't know. Steering swivel ball joint. So you can see there. Pause it. And then trailing arm suspension. So damper, this is for the rear. So damper, pivots, trailing arm, differential fixed to the frame. Jointed drive shaft. As you can see. There. So then anti-roll bar, so you can see it's kind of like that. So that anti-roll bar pivots allow the bars to twist, but to a limited degree so that rolling is controlled. And that's actually it for that suspension. Now we have the springs and dampers, how they work. So leaf spring, pivoted. So there. Okay, so leaf springs in action. So there's a leaf spring at rest and leaf spring under load. So on load is at the bottom, on rest at the top. Like that. U-bolt. Coil spring, the coil spring of the damper. Like that. And then torsion bar, so ridge fixing to frame, torsion bar. Suspension, lever arm. That. So then this is what's inside the dampers. some dampers have an extra chamber containing gas to slow the piston movement even more. Okay, so telescopic body, so the body of the damper. So there's a piston inside, extra chamber for gas. So you can see there. So you can see, and then I have to move it down like that. Actually, if I top it, there you go. So now you can see the whole thing. Does this go sideways? I don't think it does. There. So then, a telescopic damper shortens when the wheels are forced by a bump as the piston moves oil passes through, and it slows its return movement. So now this is a little bit different. So it's like that. So then this is the telescopic damper unit is incorporated in the tubular telescoping strut of a suspension system. Okay, so you can kind of see there. So you got your like strut in there, then the spring, the arm, and then the wheel. And then there's hydraulic suspension. Hydraulic suspension combines rubber springs with a damper system linking the front and rear wheel on the same side of the car. Okay, so it's like fluid going back and forth, as you can see. Like that. And that's it for the suspension. Okay, so next, the transmission. Okay, so front engine, rear drive. So I'm going to name the parts and I'll show you. So differential housing, propeller shaft / drive shaft, rear axle, universal joints. So it's like joints that can like still turn, but they can also like do this and that and whatever. Engine, gearbox, and that's pretty much it. So let's see there. So the engine and the gearbox are bolted together, with the clutch between them. The engine is rigidly mounted, but the propeller shaft, drive shaft, must be fixable to allow for movement of the back axle because they're suspensions. So that's what those universal joints are for, so it can move. Okay, so final drive. So this is what's inside a drive shaft. So there's the half shaft, so on like the outside, and the crown wheel, which is the inside. Half shaft pinion, which are the gears that are attached to the shafts on the outside. Then prop shaft pinion, which is part of the drive shaft. So you can see there. So this being the drive shaft, and then the wheel axles. So it goes there, spins, and it spins the crown wheel. And then when it's all going at once, it spins it all. But when it's turning, then those half shaft pinion gears in the middle, they're called spider gears. Anyway, so when you're turning, obviously if the axle were to be linked, then it would just kind of slide everywhere. But because those spider gears, they can turn, so like turn at different speeds, but still give the power to the rear wheels. That's what the differential is for. And then that's actually a universal joint, as you can see there. So traverse engines, so front wheel drives, like that. Just the engine, gearbox, clutch, drive shaft, and the transmission. Okay, inline engine. So this is when the engine is straight, but it's still front wheel drive. So the axles actually go through the transmission, even though the engine is like straight instead of sideways. So like that. So clutch, engine, gearbox, drive shaft. That's quite weird, but they still have that. And then a CV joint. This is what's inside of it. So in a CV joint, there's like rivets. So there's like dents like that, and the balls go in there like that. So then it can, because the CV joints are there because when you turn your wheels, but when your car's front wheel drive, it obviously you bend the axle, or you can't turn it. Anyway, so what that does is you can turn the wheel, but it still lets the power go through. So it's kind of like this, like it's spinning, and then you can turn it. It's kind of like something like that. Because they're bells, so they can roll, but they still like latch on. So, and that's it for that. So how a car clutch works, we've done this many times. I'm not reading all of that, so you can look. Oops. Let's see. So I've actually showed this on YouTube before for the clutch. So there's the flywheel bell housing, which should bolt onto the clutch. The clutch plate, or disc, and then there's also the clutch lining that's attached to the disc. And then the fork, the clutch, the clutch string. So when you push your clutch, it would pull that fork, releasing the clutch fork, pulling all of it back. That pulls all of that back. And then it all comes back. And then it's disconnected. So, yeah. That's what's in a standard. Automatics have torque converters. So this is hydraulic. Okay, so this is the clutch engaged. So when it's like when it makes the engine move. And then clutch disengaged. So when it doesn't make the engine move and you push the pedal down. And that's pretty much it. So the parts are... Okay, so the modern clutch has 4 main components. The cover plate, which incorporates a diaphragm spring. So that's like what springs it towards the flywheel. The pressure plate, which is a pressure plate. The driven plate and the release bearing. And that's pretty much it for that. So manual gearbox, I've showed this a million times. So this is a 4-speed. So you can see there. So there's also forks there. So like it's like a fork that looks like this, and then it goes on a circle thing. So when you... Okay, the gears can't slide, but they are attached to the drive shaft, which goes in the engine. But the dogs, which is the things that like do this and then they move, the dogs can slide, but they can't like move on their own. They move. Wait. Yeah. Okay, so what it is the gears can't move, but they can slide on their own. but the dog can slide, but it can't move on its own. So when the dog is meshed with a gear, it moves that gear, which moves the drive shaft, which would be like first gear. Then when it goes across, that'd be second gear. And then when you put your shifter in the middle, it selects another stick. So you can see there's 3 sticks. So 1, 2, and then 3. So then that the neutral's actually on the middle stick, but when you're in third and fourth, that's also the middle stick. So then, okay, synchro mesh disengaged, so you can see there. And then synchro mesh engaged. Neutral. First gear. Second gear. Third gear. So you pretty much get the point. Fourth gear. Fifth gear. And then you pretty much get the point. So then automatic. So this is a torque converter. So you can see that's what's in it. It's run by fluid. And I will be back. Hi guys, Avery here. Today, I'm back with the torque converter. So smash that like button, make sure you and subscribe. And now let's get started. And Mimi's decided to join us. Bye, Mimi's. Do you know about a car? Okay. Anyway, so we're gonna be doing the torque converter, like I had to pause the video for. So that's a torque converter. That's a torque converter, and then I'll name the main parts. So flywheel, reactor, and turbine, and then the case. The reactor's like the main part. So how it works is, okay, there's the case. The reactor is in the middle. So when you're starting off, the reactor spins. So like spins, and then it like kind of sends it kind of down, and then it just kind of keeps going around and keeps going through. Oh, sorry for the background noise. These things are really annoying. Anyway, so it constantly goes through, and then once you're going fast enough, the fluid makes the reactor go the other way, but it can't. So it's just still, and it sends the fluid down further, so now it has a stronger connection. And then it can go faster. That's what replaces the clutch in an automatic. So now, okay, so at low revs, the reactor is stationary and deflects the oil back to the impeller. This increases the torque applied to turbine. So that is there, picture. And then the other thing is high revs to reactor starts to turn when turbine, impeller, and reactor are running at the same speed. Oil is not deflected. So this is ran by either transmission fluid, if you have any, or oil. According to this, it's oil, because some cars you can't really check the transmission fluid. So, yep. I don't know if it has transmission.
It doesn't have transmission fluid.
Well, it has to. It's the only thing that lubricates it. Anyway, we'll discuss this off camera. Okay, so this is the thing that the one-way joint. So, with center sun gear locked, planets turn around it, carrier and outer ring turn the same way. Okay, so this is for the transmission itself, so that's for the sun gear, which I'll show in a few seconds. If sun gear is locked to outer ring gear, planets cannot turn, so carrier turns whole unit, which is like third gear because it's straight. So like that. And then the other thing, with planet carrier locked, sun gear turns planets to drive ring gear opposite way. So that's like reverse, I think. So then drive 1 first gear. So I can't really. Okay, well, there's a little reading thing here. So I'll read the texts in the boxes as I just did. Okay, so the forward drive clutch is engaged and the engine turns the first ring gear. Yeah. This causes the planet gears to drive the common sun gear in the opposite direction. The second planet carrier is held by a brake band, so the planets drive the second ring gear and output shafts, thus producing 2 reductions in the speed of the engine. So that was just on the first gear itself. So you can see there, then the way that it goes. You can pause the video if you want. So then the second gear, third gear, so top gear. And then there's reverse. And that's pretty much it for automatic. And you just learned how an automatic works, both of you. Oh. Anyway. Okay. So that's automatic. Fuel injection systems, which I was trying to find earlier. A fuel injection system. Okay, so I'm going to read this little thing on injections again. Petrol engined cars use indirect fuel injection. A fuel pump sends the petrol gas to the engine bay, and it is then injected into the inlet manifold, so intake manifold, by an injector. There is either a separate injector for each cylinder or just one or two in the inlet manifold. So you can see there. So kind of. So you can see. So now it's showing the injectors. So this is a mechanical injector. And then a electric injector. So this is what your car would have. So then this is a manual or mechanical fuel injection system. So you can see there, the carburetor is like right there, and then the engine is over here. And then electronic. So then that's like a fuel injected thing. That's what an engine bay looks like. And that's pretty much it for that. Diesel engine. This is the last thing for the basics. Okay, so diesel engine. So, okay, so instead of, if you don't know what a diesel engine is, so instead of gasoline, it's ran by diesel, obviously, and gasoline engines have spark plugs, and then the spark plug ignites the fuel. But instead, for diesel, where the spark plug is, there's an injector, and the pistons go up higher, so due to high compression, the diesel, okay, it ejects diesel, and then it explodes, causing the piston to go down, running the engine. So it's just more compression. That's what makes diesels work. So I can see it's going in. Compression. So you can see it's really compressed, and then that injects, and then it'll explode due to compression and the compression. And then that's exhaust. So it's kind of like a gasoline engine, it's just not. So, yeah. Okay, so this is direct injection. Direct, and then indirect engine. So you can see. And then those are the GRU plugs. And then that's about that. So that's how a diesel engine works. I shall do one more for how one type of engine works. So this is called okay, this Ford created this. So it's called a CVH engine. So gasolines would run by gasoline, but it still runs gasoline, but instead of the fuel just going in, it actually spins around the cylinder. So you can see the arrows. So it spins around the cylinder and then gets compressed while spinning. Creating an explosion, and that still spins around it somehow. And then it goes out, still spinning. So that's how that works. So it literally like spins really fast. Okay, so yeah, so that's how that works. This is actually it for today's video. So smash the like button, make sure you and subscribe. And this little elf enjoyed it. And I also have a V8 engine here, right here. So this would be like the intake down here, and then the carburetors, cylinder head covers. Cylinder heads would actually be here. And this is like a model engine, so I built it. Next video is gonna be me naming all the parts, so you kind of like see where they all are, and I'll explain what they do. But that's gonna be for next video, which either gonna be today or tomorrow. So smash that like Smash that like button, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.